I am live. Let me adjust this camera a little bit. That's still not low enough. What up? This is Ive. I must apologize for not giving you guys enough notice. I thought I hit the uh, public at about basically 45 minutes ago, but I didn't. So I blew it. There's not many people in here. That's certainly my fault for sure. 100%. So today I want to talk about, I've been thinking about what would be my next portable power station and doing some thought about that. And I decided that what I'm going to do is stop basically being an incrementalist. That's really what it comes down to. I was considering, and I still am, but I was considering getting an EcoFlow Pro. It would be, hey, Courtney, it would be a deal that I would be considering. And that's about $500 or so. So I talked with the missus and I was like, you know what? I need to stop playing around and I need to get to a point where I start getting serious about which portable power station I'll purchase to make sure that if we lose power, our biggest needs are covered. What up, Joe Tyson? You're on the fence about the EcoFlow River Max versus the Bouge RV. Okay, I'll revisit that. So what I decided is I kind of want to create a budget. I want to spend about $2,000. I do not have that coin, but that's what I'm shooting for. And right now that's looking like something like the AC200P or the AC200 Max. I think those are the perfect devices for me to consider. And I'll give you a little bit of insight. I don't necessarily like, personally for me, the AC300 because I don't like that module setup. I need something that if I wanted to, I have a basement, I have a first floor, and I have a second floor. I have to have something that I need to be able to move around. And having that modular setup is not ideal for me. So I kind of ruled that out. The EcoFlow Pro, I don't even think it's the EcoFlow Delta Pro. I don't even think it's out right now. That's a little too much coin for me. And then there's the EcoFlow Delta, the updated one. I think it's called the Delta Max. It's not LifePo, so that kind of scratches it for me as well. But I think it's 800 cycles. And then you have some Bluetti devices, the EB150 and the EB240. They're a little old, but they have 1,000 cycles, I believe. So what's going on, Paycheck? Basu, what's happening? BASU, good to see you. Yep. So I'm playing a game, though. I am playing a game because the AC200P, actually, Wayne was telling me that he's seen it somewhere refurbished for $1,200, which is interesting, but not compelling. Because if it's $1,200, I haven't told him this yet. If it's $1,200, the thing that has me conflicted is the early bird pricing on the AC200 Max. So I think it's $1,599. Let's just say $16.99. I have tabs and stuff. I just got to find them. I use so many browsers. That's the whole thing. Let's just say $16.99. So $1,200 refurbished on the AC200P. That thing has been as cheap as $15.99. And I believe the new one is like $100 more. I might as well give the extra $100 to be able to not have to worry about putting panels in series. I probably will put panels in series, but if I didn't want to, I don't have to. And the reason why that plays a role is because I have a 200 watt rich solar and I have a 190 watt HQST coming. They have very comparable voltages and amps. So you could put them in parallel and series with regard to these larger power stations. So I don't know if I would want to do that or if I just would want to have the 150 some odd watts coming into whatever larger device I get. So I don't want to be limited to not being able to use one panel. Hey, happy wife, what's up? Man, I'm so glad you guys were able to catch the live. I know I kind of fumbled the ball with the timing and all that. I try to give people at least an hour. And this time I tried to give y'all like 45 minutes. And I forgot to hit the save button to show it public and what time. So I kind of just went live on the spot, which is weird. I'm not a fan of that for me. I'm doing fine. I'm actually doing really good. I'm always doing fine. The only thing that kind of impacts my state of being is marriage. I mean, my kids kind of get me down, but that's easy. I just need space. But marriage is the only thing that kind of affects my mood. Other than that, I'm pretty even. All right. Um, so I'm basically deciding that I need to save up about $2,000 to buy a real portable power station. We have talked many times in this live about, people saying that you need to figure out what you need to power. And I pretty much know what I need to power. I need to be able to power my deep freezer downstairs, and I need to be able to power my fridge. I mean, those are absolute hard coded needs. You need to preserve the food. And anything within that 2000 watt inverter that the AC200P or the AC200 Max has can cover it. It can even power air conditioners and stuff like that, which I'm super stoked about. I just need to save up the money. Some other things that I'm considering as it relates to that is I'm holding off as long as possible because Bluetti puts out new devices like every 6 months. And I don't want to be one of those people that buys the AC 200 Max at the early bird price. And then before I even get it, they got like the AC 200 Max S or something special about it. You know what I mean? And the reason why that's important is there are things that I'm not happy about with that device. They're nitpicky, but there's still things. I don't like that it has all those covers on the port. I'm not a fan of that. It's going to be in my house. I'm not worried about dust. Leah brought up a good point about covering those ports because of my kids, but my kids don't typically mess with that kind of stuff. But they don't mess with it until they do, right? So that's something that I just thought of just now. So maybe the port covers are okay. I'm not a fan that everything is touchscreen on that series. I feel like it should have some physical buttons. I don't like that everything is touchscreen. The touchscreen is great, but why can't I just turn on those ports with a physical button? But I guess me being super reasonable, all of that stuff can fail. The screen can fail, the physical buttons can fail. Either way, if something fails, you're out of luck anyway. So, que sera, sera. I also don't like that device is so big. And one, it doesn't have two USB-C ports. And I'm not a 12-volt guy at the moment, but it doesn't have two 12-volt cigarette lighters. I don't understand why they wouldn't have two of those. I don't even like those things necessarily. But once you have one, that's it. You have to put a splitter on it. And those are okay. They're okay. They're okay. Let me see what y'all are talking about. What's going on, VM? I'm just like you with the pickiness. I got to circle back up to your question, Courtney. Courtney says she like me. She's been reading specs and watching sales. That's what's up. Delgado, what's happening? Sleeper FS2, hello. TLC in the garden, thanks for stopping by. Anthony Aguero, waiting on the EB55 and my HQSD 100 watt should keep it topped. I dig that. Ruben C, what's happening? Paycheck says, yes, I have. I also haven't figured out what I want to do beyond the fridge and freezer. Yeah, what else is there? What could there be? Okay, I want to circle back to your question, Courtney. Courtney asks, she's on the fence about the EcoFlow River versus the Bouge RV. What are my thoughts? Why do you want the Max? I don't necessarily like the Max. I don't dislike it either. Sometimes the price is right on that Max. Somebody in the chat a couple of chats ago talked about how they got it at a pretty decent price. I think it was $50 less than if he would have bought two EcoFlows the base models, or it was like something very, very costly. I think it was like $70 less. I feel like if you're gonna spend the money on the Max, why not just get the Pro? Especially in my mind, if the Pro ever goes down to 550. The Max gets you about 500 some odd watt hours, close to 6, and then the Pro gets you 700. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if I find that to be a lackluster device, a lackluster choice, because they all do the same thing. My only nitpick with the Max is that I've seen the EcoFlow River at $250 at its cheapest. It's actually been in their Facebook group for like $190, but you have to be in a group to see those things. I've only seen those things once. And then the battery is $250 with a $50 off coupon. So it's like for an extra $200, I could get 2 EcoFlows at $250 for about the same price as the Max, right? So that's my beef I have with the Max. Other than that, the Max is fine. It just doesn't make sense for me economically to have one of those devices when I can have 2 EcoFlow Rivers. Now, if you want to compare that to the Bouge RV dip, which is $600 with $60 off because of LED's coupon, which is, you know, the EB70 in Bouge RV face. my brain immediately went to a whole nother thing. What is that? 440, 540? So tell me the prices, Courtney. How much is the Max cost right now? And fast charging on the what? The Max? I'm sorry, the the EcoFlow River Max. Yeah, I did see that. Happy Wife says Amazon has the same $60 off. True. True. I'm getting to a place where I kind of want to start to buying directly from companies. I'm not fully committed either way. If convenience is a thing for me and it's fast shipping, I may go through Amazon. But if it doesn't matter either way, I may go through the company because Amazon is interesting. Hey, 2%. 2%. What's going on with you in LED? Does he have you blocked or something? What's happening? I seen you in the as an AKA, and I didn't want to like be all in Led's chat having you explain it again, especially with so many people and so on and so forth. So I just, what's up, whole new perspective? So yeah, man, I got to be a grown up about my power station. I don't want to spend that much money, but nothing can power my deep freezer. And here's the thing, my deep freezer is down in my basement though. My wife made a good point because I was telling her it kind of depends on ambient temperature and things like that, with how often you would have to plug it in to give it power. My basement is pretty cool all the time. So I wonder if I could get away with it a little longer than 24 hours, having my deep freezer down in the basement. Because I'm pretty sure if push came to shove, I could power my fridge from the EB70 and the EcoFlow River. And then I can also, quote unquote, daisy chain those together, because I will only run my fridge like once every 3 hours or so. I could take power from another power station and feed it into one of those devices that can power my fridge. So I think I'm actually pretty good for a certain amount of time, not for a long amount of time. I'd say I'd give me a day. David, what's happening? I'm waiting to get my first power station. I'm wanting to get my first power station. Which one? I'm looking at the Jackery 500 or the EcoFlow Max, the 576 unit. I don't like the Jackery 500 per se. The charging speed for the 500 is it's a bit ridiculous. It's my parameters of 20% per hour, because it's 5 watts. I'm pretty sure that thing can charge at about 100 some odd watts. But I don't know if it can charge at 100 some odd watts through normal panels, or if you need the Jackery panel to really like max out that solar input. I don't think I've actually seen many videos on the solar input from a non-Jackery panel, but I also could have tuned that out. I'm gonna have to look into this EcoFlow Max thing. The Max just kind of boggles my mind, but for reasons that I said a couple minutes ago, David, if you want to go back, and then you can use 2x speed to catch up if you want to. Courtney, I did say that. I'm glad you're here. Whole new perspective. I keep trying to figure out, okay, what's going on, but he's not answering. I left him an email, and everyone in the chat tried, but he left a message on my videos, and he did not sound mad. Oh, okay, well, that's cool. What's going on, Bob? Anthony, I have a Goal Zero 150 Explorer that won't hold a charge anymore. I'm wondering, what do you do with them once they're boo-boo? It won't hold a charge anymore, will it? I mean, it won't hold the charge at all, because you could use it for pass-through if power can actually go into the battery, but then it just won't hold it for any duration of time. I don't know. And then Goal Zero, I think I've heard people have to tinker with them and things like that, but I don't think their batteries are user replaceable. Goal Zero is literally off my they're off my radar 100%. I don't pay attention to them at all. The money, it just costs too much money. It's kind of like the Four Patriots, but not as egregious. Ulysses, what's happening? I'm waiting on the Bluetti to come out. I'm waiting on Bluetti to come out with something around 150 watts with the new batteries. That's interesting. Can you imagine like a EB240, but updated with LiPo batteries and maybe like a better interface? That'd be a good, but then how much would they charge? I think the devices have come down so much in price. I don't know if they could find a good middle ground for those devices. The 150 is a stack. It's $899, $999. What would you price it at? If they've put the the AC 200p goes for about 1,500, right? 1,600. I don't know what you do with the 240. And also, I don't believe that device is theirs. I think it's a rebranded one. I've never seen anybody else sell the 240, but Rich Solar has an EB150. Anthony said, yeah, no good. I mean, how long have you had it, Anthony? That's a good test case. How long have you owned that Goal Zero device that you say won't hold a charge anymore? That'd give us some insight. Yeah. Happy Wife says Led doesn't answer my emails asking to unblock me, so I stopped. I told you to reach out to his wife. Comment on his wife's channel. She may not get involved in that, but if it was a misunderstanding, like you said, Happy Wife, then that shouldn't be a problem. I mean, he still may not go and do it just because of the busyness of it and how with his audience being so big, I imagine that if someone is not congruent with just being able to be prepared and bringing a lot of drama, I'm not saying that that's you, then he may not be of the mindset of bothering with it. I don't know. Gently moving. Amazon has a GoLabs 204 LiFo with everything but pure sign for 130. Is that a deal breaker? That's a good question, Gently Moving. I actually just found out about that device, that device doesn't have a pure sine wave inverter from TN Frank. Y'all should go check out his channel. He's building and experimenting and buying power stations and stuff like that. I've learned some stuff from his channel too. TN Frank is the one who told me about the HQST solar panel. So I'm grateful to him for that. I don't think it's a deal breaker. My Bowden's has a modified sine wave inverter. I just don't put certain stuff on it. I only power like my laptop with it. You should be powering cell phones and things like that from USB-C or USB anyway. I just don't do a whole lot with the inverter on those smaller devices if they're not pure sine wave. I still like the device. I'm this close to emailing them again. I'm starting to email people from my Gmail. I'm giving that a shot because I think my @AskIve emails are being sent to spam. And I don't know how diligent these companies are with checking spam. So I'm going to start emailing people from Gmail. I'm going to email them and see if they'll send me one because we work together on my R300. What's going on, Chicken Little Trucker? Um, okay, yeah, no good. Happy Wife says I have that small portable red one LED suggested. The EB70? The Go Power Plus. A Jackery 300 and a Bluetti EB70. I have Renogy panels and I'm done. I want to set up a greenhouse. I hear you, Happy Wife. Oh, okay. Courtney Jackson says, yeah, y'all have to reach out to Lady Led. She reads the emails. I'm pretty sure if you jump on her live or in one of her latest videos, I would be strategic, like jump on one of her latest videos right when she posted. And then just ask her, it's worth a shot. Oh, okay. Well, maybe Happy Wife says Lady Leia didn't answer her either. Maybe that whatever misunderstanding y'all had, maybe they are solidified on it, and maybe it's not as innocent as you make it out to be. Oh man. Um. So yeah, man. I'm gonna keep watching the what do they say, the landscape, to see what kind of comes available. But that AC 200p or the AC Max is going to be the way that I go when I have the money. And then by the time I have the money, if something else more interesting is out there in the mainstream, because I'm not into the off the beaten path, especially not for that much money, then I'll decide accordingly. And I'm also interested in this solar panel by Renogy. It is not cheap, but it's not overly expensive. It's about what y'all pay for these folding panels. It's $2 per watt. It's the Renogy Eclipse, which has the sun power cells in them. I'm really impressed with that panel. Solar Will was testing on it. Now he's in Nevada, but he was getting 100 watts from the panel. And the panel was on sale one day for like 169. For 169, I would have been intrigued if I had the money to buy that, because I like that. I would put that 100-watt panel right at the front of my house and let it rock out. Now, because I have so many floors, what I have to think about, this water is dripping on my fan cable. I'm gonna have to put it somewhere else. All this condensation. What I have to think about with regard to my next power station is, where am I gonna put it? And I think it's gonna live on the main floor so that it can power my refrigerator and then anything on the main floor. But then the thing that'll probably use the most power is the deep freezer. I'm just not sure. I'm not necessarily a fan of how these things are split up in my house, but I'll figure it out, man. I enjoy that. And then I have to figure out how I'm going to go with the panels, which is a fun time as well. That'll free up when that HQST gets here. That'll free up my two Renogy 100-watt panels. And I think I'm going to put a 100-watt panel up here to use on this top floor, because that 50-watt panel up here, it's nice, but it doesn't produce a lot of power. It probably produces like 30 watts laying flat, and that's just not enough. All in the soil. What's happening, man? Yeah. You didn't miss much. I basically decided that I got to save $2,000 to get a grown-up power station. And many of you who are concerned about preserving your food, who are concerned about just like preparedness in a sense of like, okay, what do I actually need to get? I feel like when you start to think about specific things at your home, especially important things, you need to be willing to spend at least $1 to $2,000, if not more. $1 or $2,000 will get you by, especially when the sun is out. But when the sun goes down, or if you don't have sun for a few days, we all would be in a interesting position, because solar it doesn't work when the clouds are out that well. You get about, 20%, 10% on like seriously overcast days, and you could get about like 50 30, 40, maybe 50% on overcast or cloudy but sunny days. So I'm just trying to figure out, um, just how I'm going to work around everything. Right now, I have more panels than power stations, I believe. So that's kind of tough. So I need to figure something out. I do. Let me scroll up and see what you guys are talking about. Bob says he likes the new Harbor Freight 100-watt panel. Why? The only thing I can think of is the fact that it has stands built into it. Other than that, I'm not impressed. Yeah, 2%. I feel you. You're talking to Happy Wife, but it's not like, I feel like if he blocked you on your alternate one, then that would be a thing. But yeah, you can come in under another name. But I hear you. It's your persona. I dig it. So Anthony talked about his goal zero and what options he has if the battery just won't hold the charge. So I was interested in how long it lasted. And he said it lasted for 3 years. Did not understand how those batteries worked. Wasted money not knowing these things, but happy with the way you explain things. Thanks, Anthony. Now, the one thing about those goal zeros is that community is extremely passionate about those devices. Now, you may not necessarily have the know-how, but maybe you can find a forum or a Facebook group and be able to reach out to them and ask them, hey, like, this is what happened. Have you guys dealt with this? What do you think? I feel like you should also be able to reach out to Goal Zero. Take a chance. It's only 3 years. I'm sure they have at least a 1-year warranty. They may even have 2. They may work with you. They may charge you to fix it or repair it. Who knows? But reach out and try. I feel like somebody asked me something and I'm missing it right now. Or the graph, it's all good. He said late to the show as usual. It's my fault. It's not your fault. It's my fault. I didn't do a good job of preparing you guys. One in one. I'm waiting for my 100-watt Rich to go along with my Jackery 500. Okay, you guys, does anybody have the Jackery 500? Let me scroll down so I can see y'all comments. And do you use it with a non-Jackery panel? And then what's the highest watts you've seen on it? I wish Led was here because I know he would answer. He could answer because he has that Jackery 500. All in the Soul says, I can't go that big on solar just yet. I will be getting the 80-quart solar refrigerator. That's an interesting point. Wayne was talking about this idea of getting a 12-volt refrigerator. The problem with that is that 12-volt refrigerator, it costs the amount of money that it costs because it's for a specific use. It's like, I haven't quite come to terms with the fact that I would have to spend $300 some odd to have such a small refrigerator. I want to preserve all of my food. Now I don't live a camping lifestyle. I'm not going anywhere. I would like to get one for my wife and the family more than anything because she just bought a cooler and we were able to keep our food cold without ice being involved, which gets your food wet, which is what Leia was talking about on his dip. So I don't know. I don't know if $300 for the amount of power that it saves compared to my fridge and the amount of power that it would use a pull out of my power station is worth $300. I'm not sure. I have to get into some math. I'll think about it. So 1N says the Jackery 500 only allows 85 watts of solar input. Interesting. Oh, okay. Happy Wife says, I asked you, what is the $2,000 solar generator you're looking at? It's not quite $2,000, but that's what my budget is going to be. I'm looking at the AC200 Max at its pre-order price, which I believe is, let me just check instead of saying this. I know I got these tabs open somewhere. I believe it's like $16.99. Come on, come on, come on. Do I have it up here? Charge them up any way you like. Blah, 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 blah. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Site is weird. I don't see the price on here. I have to scroll a little bit. It's either $15.99 or $16.99 at the pre-order. I'm pretty sure when it comes out, it's probably going to be like maybe $17.99 with someone's coupon, and probably $18 to $19.99 just retail. Yeah, I don't see any prices on this site. I saw the price somewhere. Okay. No, that's for the batteries. God dog it. I'm sure somebody in this chat knows how much that thing costs. Yes, I'm sorry, Happy Wife. That is a Bluetti. All of the devices that I'm interested in are Bluettis. The full range. The AC200P is the Bluetti. The AC200 Max is the newest Bluetti that's coming out that can take in solar from one panel. The AC200P requires 2 panels in series to meet that higher voltage. So if I had to spin a coin, that's the one for me. I don't think there's any competition in that bracket. The EcoFlow Delta, the first one only takes in about 400 watts. I think the AC200P can take in 700 watts. And the AC200 Max can take in about 900 on the solar. And then it can take in an extra 500 if you get the adapter to put solar into the AC charging port. So yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm nitpicking at the moment about they put 2 like wireless chargers on the top, which is fine. I need 2 USB-C ports. That's why I got that EB70 LiFo, 2 100-watt USB-C ports. That was a good time. One in says he's getting the AC300 Max. I dig that. If I didn't need necessarily portability, I'd think about it. I mean, that's a more coin than I would want to spend. B3 Outdoors, appreciate you, brother. $15.99 pre-sale, then $2,000, $19.99 retail. That is something to think about. That's something to think about. 1,600 versus $2,000. That's compelling. The Gardening Artist. I haven't seen that name before. Welcome to the live. David B, what's happening? One in, I waited for Amazon Prime days for the Set Power fridge for $200. Interesting. Okay. Wayne, what's happening? Whole New Perspective says I need to get more panels and another power station. I dig that, man. Gary, what's happening? Noir Prepping and Food Adventures. That's a good name. I like that. When you don't have to get up and go to the kitchen from the room for a drink, the 12-volt fridge will be worth it. Man, I could use them steps. Convenience keeps us chunky. 2%, get the rich. Yeah, the rich 200 watt is nice. Listen, guys, there's no downside to getting a 200 watt panel versus a 100 watt panel. There's no downside, at least in my mind. It's so much more convenient and easier to have that one panel put out whatever 80% of 200 watts is for the most part, and just you're good to go. And if you want to have more, you got 2 panels giving you 400 watts minus 80%. Hey, Regina. Happy Sunday to you, too. Living in an apartment, how bad is collecting through a window for those that don't have a choice? I just recorded a video today about my SunPower 50 watt panel that I hope can ease the pain of living in an apartment. Living in an apartment is just not an ideal situation. And I don't know how easy it would be to put a rigid panel in a window. That seems like crazy. But me and my MacGyver brain, you could do it. You could get like one of those, if your window's big enough, you could get one of those the curtain rods that expand and have the tension. and you could prop it up against the floor and prop it up against your panel. I'm not saying it's a good solution. I'm just saying my brain works in a way where it's like, if I needed to figure it out, I'm gonna figure it out the easiest way possible. All right, All in the Soul says, bro, it's $649 for the solar refrigerator, but it has two sides, one for freezing and one for refrigerator. It uses 40 watts for the compressor. I need it for power outages. So you're talking about a somewhat full-size refrigerator, All in the Soil? I'm sorry if that's messing up the... Oh, B3 Outdoors corrected the price. He says $16.99 and $20.99. Are we still talking about the AC 200 Max B3? Paycheck asks, why is it that the Bluetti 2400 isn't talked about anymore? One thing is it's a monster. It's heavy, and it's all it is a bigger battery pack, but the EB150. So that was a very specific case that people needed. I don't think that was a super appealing device to everyone. That's just my opinion. I didn't see like normal people talking about it. I have only seen people who were given the device talk about it. B3 confirms yes. So the price of the AC 200 Max, according to B3 Outdoors, is $16.99 at the pre-order, and then $20.99 when it goes live. That's interesting. $1,700. It's only an extra $100, but that's interesting. That doesn't make it as much of a close to $1,500 type of thing that I'd be thinking in my mind. I live a complex life. What can I say? One in says the AC 300 Max is smaller and more portable. Yeah, but it's modular. Once you put it down on there, I don't know how that stuff works. I can't even pretend to know that it snaps in or clamps in. I'd like to believe that it's lighter, but it has more capacity. So I don't know if it's smaller or portable. Is it lighter, one in? One in has quantified her age. I got you. Happy Wife says, my Bouge RV refrigerator freezer worked like a charm on our last camping trip. We used it in our outdoor tent. Although we have a trailer too, we have 4 dogs and need room. I got you. Noir says, when you don't have to... Okay, I read that before. I'm just kind of catching up. TLC says, I need a bigger power station and panels. I have the Go Power and the Jackery 240. I gotcha. In a 60-watt panel. Which 60-watt panel do you have, TLC, in the garden? I see Diva's around here somewhere. I haven't seen her comment yet. Happy Wife says, no one talks about the Jackery 300. Any issues? That Jackery 300 is, I would dare say, it's a perfect power station. Yeah. For $199, it was a steal. Anybody got it for $199. I'm sure they are ecstatic about having it. Sunday Backyard Farmer, what's happening? Okay, All in the Soul is saying it's a portable solar refrigerator on wheels, fits in the car trunk, and its size is 80 quarts. So is it vertical? I imagine it has to be horizontal, just like anything else. It's not vertical, right? I doubt it. Damn, this thing is itching my neck. I'm sorry for the feedback if that's giving you any. Bob says he can't afford any of the ones y'all are talking about. Basically, Bob, because I feel like I gotta put on my big boy pants and make sure we're good to go. The crazy part is in the city that I'm in, we don't lose power a whole lot. And when I think about it, the only times we lost power, it was super hot, humid nights. So I think the grid just couldn't handle it. I wonder if, anything could happen. Anything could happen. But I wonder if our grid will be stable for years to come. Oh, okay. TLC in the garden said that I have the Jackery panel. It was a bundle deal. That Jackery panel. I like the Jackery bifold panels. Now, how long they last, I don't know. I was actually kind of going back and forth on, and I still am. I like the idea of the SunPower 100-watt panel. It's the flexible panel. Because when I put that 50-watt panel out in my yard, I just lay it flat. I don't lean it up against anything. So that kind of inhibits the amount of power that it gets into it. But if I had a 100-watt panel, it would get more power being flat. So I was kind of debating on a 100-watt SunPower flexible panel in this Renogy Eclipse rigid panel with the same SunPower cells. Now, Will Prowse has a recent video where he tests a lot of panels, and he tests the Eclipse panel, and he puts it up against quite a few. Not up against, but he just shows how much power it's pulling. And the flexible panel didn't perform as well. It performed really good, but it didn't perform as well as the Eclipse panel. And I like that Eclipse panel. I think that thing is clean. I reached out to him on one of his videos, and I was like, man, that Eclipse panel is nice. I was like, don't mind me, I'm just jealous. He was like, man, it is. I keep it inside. I don't even leave it outside. And he had been trying to get that panel from Renogy for a while. Now, all in all, you keep saying solar refrigerator. Why are you calling it that? Does it have solar panels on it? Or does it have a battery in it? Why is that the language that you're using? Thank you, happy wife, complimenting me on my home. I'm done with this home, though. Like, we need more space. We need more space. And the plan was to move further down south, closer to my family. I'm from New Orleans. And I still kind of want to do that. But then where will we go? Where we are is really like nice. It snows and stuff here. That's annoying, but this I've never been inhibited by the snow. I feel you, Bob. Bob says he's on a fixed income and it kind of sucks. I dig that. I don't know how you feel about credit, Bob, and I'm very cautious about credit, but you know, we're all grown-ups. Hopefully you can deal with your stuff as a responsible grown-up should. I like the fact that the Amazon credit card gives you interest-free payments and it splits it up over 6 months. But a fixed income is a fixed income. You know what I mean? It's like you don't tend to have a whole lot of wiggle room there. YT, what's happening? I have the Jackery 300, got it for $200. Yeah, I was thinking of you. I love it, but looking for a second device. We rarely get blackouts in my city, but I want to be prepared. Yeah, I dig that. One in. Thanks for that clarity. That fridge is a 12-volt portable cooler shaped device. Yeah, that's how most of them are, not like a mini fridge. My thing is, I'm not necessarily big on the traveling aspect. Bouge RV is the next company I'm going to email from my Gmail because I don't think they're getting my, I think spam is filtering my Ask God, which is powered by Zoho. TLC in the garden says I'm in an apartment, so the panel would be on the balcony or in my daughter's bedroom window during the gardening season. Okay, so even in those apartments, the thing that I have to deal with in this video that I have coming out, just to give you guys a little sneak preview, in the summer, it's kind of hard to do anything in your window. So I have to actually try and get some footage on a sunny day of me putting it in my window, but the sun is always overhead. You will probably do a lot better if you have a south-facing window or an east-facing window at some point. No, the sun sets in the west, right? I don't know. I didn't do well in school. I didn't pay attention. I was bored. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna test it. I'm gonna test the SunPower panel to see how much power comes in through a window when the sun is pretty much in the sky. I don't think it's gonna produce much, but being in an apartment is just challenging. It is what it is. You may have to resort to other means of charging your dip. I'm not sure what that is. Joe Tyson, I believe those low watt Goal Zero banks are using AGM batteries. I thought so too, but I haven't paid attention to them in so long. Their low watt ones could have been updated by now. They're still too expensive, but that is certainly a few years ago. I've been in a solar for about maybe 18 months, 24 months, maybe, probably more like 18 months. I think this is my second summer with it. And Goal Zero, those smaller ones were AGM, which means they were heavy and not very good. 2% says you would have loved to be in Asad's classroom. Listen, 2%. If you like a snarky, sarcastic, know-it-all, but not in an arrogant way, maybe a little arrogant, but not in the worst way, then you probably would have had a good time. Bob in Missouri says he used to race at the fairgrounds in New Orleans. That's interesting. I've been to the fairgrounds a couple of times. I don't know why. It was some field trip type of stuff, but I can't remember. I just know I've been there. The racetrack is in a bad part of town. Shh. Man. At that point, I feel like all of New Orleans is a bad part of town. But that's me as a kid, I guess. Anyway. All in the soil. Yes, it has lithium batteries and solar charge. Oh, okay, I got you. There you go. That's a solar refrigerator. I dig that. I get why they get into it like that. Jason Orr reviewed it and has a discount code too. Gotcha. All in the soil is talking about his 12-volt fridge that he's talking about, a solar fridge. B3 Outdoors asks, does reflecting sunlight towards a solar panel work, or does it have to be direct sunlight? That is a good question. I don't know. But in what way would that work? Will has a I call him Solar Will. The reason why I call him Solar Will is there's this guy I follow. His name is Ruslan. He's a Christian former rap artist who like gives this commentary on like society, and he's like normal. He's a normal Christian. He is Armenian, aka his appearance is white. And then there's Will Prowse, who I follow and watch, and then there's this guy I watch. His name is Mav. So I call Will instead of Will Prowse, I call him Solar Will. And then I hope she can just recognize that Ruslan has a very interesting name, but she's not quite into it. Happy wife, we've been to NOLA 3 times. We don't drink, but we're foodies. Hey, that's a good time. That's a good time. Joe Tyson says reflected light will contribute to the solar input. Rucker Homestead, I don't recognize the name. Welcome. Most of these companies are owned by the same large company. That's a good point. 2%. Get your internet together, man. What's going on? You're talking about you want to see people and stuff like that, and your internet is whack. So to be honest, I do feel like I need to save up that money for that power station, but I could be compelled to spend $500 on something because I still need something at the front of my house. That annoys me to no end. So my overall idea is I want to have a 100-watt panel up here to power. Sometimes I work in this back room when I need to take a call for work or something like that. My internet is in the other room. I want to be able to power that in some capacity if I had the option. I just have no solar back here. I want solar in all of the zones of my house. And I have enough panels and stuff to do it. Shoot, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 solar panels now. 1 200-watt rich solar. I have a 9th one on the way, I believe. 1 200-watt rich solar, 2 HQSD 100 watts, 2 Renogy 100 watts, 1 Agwe folding panel, 1 50-watt Renogy rigid panel, and then 1 50-watt sun power cell. That is 8 solar panels. I feel like I have enough panels to have power in all of the zones of my house. And then when the HQST comes, so another 200 watt panels, technically 190. Yeah, I'm in good shape. Have you ever heard of Hammond, Louisiana? We go to the alligator farm all the time before we dip into New Orleans. I've heard of Hammond. I've never been there. Probably some of my childhood friends probably had family who grew up there. My family has roots in Thibodeau. Spectrum. All I can think about when I hear Spectrum is Kev on stage doing those commercials. Him and Belief from Belief in Fatherhood. Diva, I'm still fiending for that EcoFlow Maxa Pro. Shoot, do you know how much it's gonna be like when all the Kickstarter stuff is done, Diva? I know Wayne's around here somewhere, but I don't know if he's paying attention to that. He's an early bird kind of cat. Joe Tyson, I'm looking for something in the $500 to $600 range, perhaps an updated EV70. I'm in no rush at the moment. I dig that. And a Bourgeois Diva says, a fridge. If Bourgeois sends me a fridge, I would be nice. They sent one to this dude that I kind of talked to a couple months ago. He has like a silver symbol-ish kind of channel. It's like all over the place, but in a certain area. I wanted to see if they would send me one. It'll be $3,000 for 3K, right? Or is it 3.5K? See, that's not much of a deal. I'm overpaying $1 per watt hour for power stations. That's old news. That's not a good look at all. So it's like you almost have to do the Kickstarter for EcoFlow, and you have to do the pre-order to make these things kind of in line with what they should be anyway. So I think that these devices are not priced very well. It's like the EcoFlow River Pro, that 550 price is compelling. You know what I mean? The base for 280, not as compelling, but it's a super capable device, just what is short on capacity. The EB70 at 500 was a compelling device for 716 watt hours. It was good. So I'm not paying $1 per watt hour. That's crazy. Even the Ponchatoula and dolls, you rescued dogs. That's interesting. That's cool, you know. Diva says she's gonna get in the early bird before September 12th. Hey, kudos to you. Joe Tyson, I'm holding out for Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales. That's smart, man. We think along the same lines. Does the Ryobi and Eco power stations have much better? Rucker says, does the Ryobi and Eco power stations that they have, are they much better than the Bluettis and Jackeries? I'm going to go ahead and say no, but that's not based on any research that I've done. I looked into the Nexus from Ego, and I wasn't moved by it. Maybe because there's too many unknowns there. I don't know. I feel like that stuff is for people who are into home type of stuff, and then they kind of want a solar solution. I don't think that's for people who are into like solar, but that's just my take at the onset. It's like you got to have those batteries. Those batteries are not cheap. But the cost per watt hour wasn't ridiculous when I looked at it, Rucker. I don't know if Ryobi has a portable power station. I'm not sure. Man, it's like thinking about this stuff. I'm almost talking myself out of this $2,000 because I don't think I'm gonna do the early bird at 1,700, and it's just 2K. Let me do some math real quick and see if I can figure out what this cost per watt is. Yeah, that's 85 cents per watt. I'm not a fan of that pricing. So I don't think so. I don't think so. And I don't have a way to be able to figure out exactly how much higher my power spikes on my devices. because the kilowatt and the Kuman and those watt meters, they don't measure inrush, or they don't get really specific about the surge. You may see the surge for like a second or so, but you need to get something that's really specific to try and measure um, what David Paz says is inrush. So Wayne says, I'm not surprised that you talked yourself out of it. You know me, I'm always weighing things, bro. Always weighing things. Hey, Kimber, I'm glad you caught the live too. Being live is a fun time. Somebody commented on my post about the live. They said they hate lives. It's too much small talk and not enough content. I was like, you know what? I respect that. I dig that 100%. I let them know that I try to put timestamps as I have time for key moments, but I didn't take it personally. And even if they meant it personally, it still doesn't bother me because people are entitled for their opinion. Joe Tyson says, you should check out the auto wit super cap car battery jumper. I have one and use my Jackery 240 to charge the auto wit when I need to jumpstart one of my vehicles. So why should I check it out? What part? How should I use that, Joe? I'm not being like facetious or anything. I'm just curious. Indo all day. Do I say that white? I say Indo. Is Indu? Just wait till the price goes down and buy the Bluetti AC 200p when it's on sale. Tell me how to pronounce your name. Is it DOE or like DO, like do? Do or do? Rucker says, I think it's really important that we get something no matter the brand. Things are getting serious out here. Yeah. The good thing is I have something. I thought about asking my neighbor if they wanted to go in on a generator. It turns out they have one already, but I thought about going half on a generator with somebody just so we could preserve our food. And I still may entertain that. I'm not sure. Candace, when I asked you about the Bourgeois V727, it was $4.99 with the 100, and now it's $5.99, and I'm sick. Candace, you asked me? When did you ask me? Wait, and what did you ask me? I have videos on it. What was the question? It's also important to know, Candace, that Bourgeois V. Okay. When you asked me about the Bourgeois V727, it was $4.89. Yeah, it was a little cheaper. And now it's $5.99 with a coupon. It's $5.99, and there's a coupon that takes it down to like $4.40. $5.40. I'm sorry. You're right. Now it's $5.40 with a coupon, and I'm sick. It's an extra $40. I dig it. I'm a principled person as well. I'm sorry. I don't know how I mishandled that or dropped that ball. I try to answer everyone who reaches out to me, especially while my audience is so small and I have the time. Because as the channel begins to grow, these chats are going to get out of control and the comments are going to get out of control. And I'm not going to necessarily be able to respond to everything like I do now. No days off, all day. Did I miss? Okay, so maybe it's just not a word. Okay. All right. No days off. That's okay. Diva says, wait on the prices. They will be lowered again. Are you talking to me, Diva, or just the chat in general? Please don't block me. I'm not a troll. What are you talking about? Happy wife? Green Man's Garden. I don't recognize the name. Welcome to the live. Would you get the Bowdens with a 100 watt knowing what you know now? No, I would not. I think the GoLabs R150 is a better device. Oh, please don't block you. when my channel gets big. I feel like happy wife, don't be out here trolling, fam. Stop trolling. I saw that autograph before you deleted it. And I'm glad you welcome. I'm not glad you deleted it. I'm glad I saw it. And I'm glad that you get what you get from the community. Yes, I also want to know, what is the hesitancy for the AC 200 Max at $1,600? You are curious too. So that's a good question. And Wayne would share that. Maybe he asked that and that's why you're echoing it. My hesitancy is, one, I don't have $1,700. That's the biggest hesitancy. Um, also, Bluetti has a history for putting out newer devices when you just kind of got settled into the device that you just bought. And the AC 200 Max is a bit of a consolation prize if I consider the things that I don't like about it. And it's not a bad consolation prize. It's actually a dope one. I would be happy with it. But if I get that thing for $1,700 and then in, let's say in 6 months, they come out with one that has two 100-watt USB PD ports. It has maybe physical buttons on it, or maybe they improve the AC. Here's a good scenario. Maybe they take that AC 300 and they revamp it in such a way that they come out with a 2K version, a 2000-watt version. It's much smaller, it's more portable, and the batteries are cheaper. Then I'm like, I got the 60-pound beast, and they don't figure out a way to get the AC 300 down to a nice, smooth, more svelte package. I'd be a bit annoyed with that. And the way that I avoid being annoyed with my purchases is I research the heck out of them, and I make sure that I'm going to be happy with that device for years to come. And I don't know if I will be happy with the AC 200P or Max for years to come, with how much it costs and how technology moves fast. Boom. Mic drop. All right. Who asked that? one in one. I'll give you some money if you want some. Are you talking to me? Everybody wants money. Who turns down money? So I guess you don't want the device, so offer declined. Offer retracted, right? Oh man, that's funny. Hey, I dig it. I don't backpedal, so it is what it is. 2% says happy wife. Then we can say, hey, ask our solo when we're there. We were there when you first started. I appreciate that. Oh yeah, I didn't take it that way. I mean, you could have been blaming me, but I wouldn't have internalized that, Candace L. I'm not blaming, I'm just saying how it went up. Oh, okay. So you mean you talked to me about it and then you didn't move on it or whatever. You were just kind of reconning and researching, and now the price has gone up. I gotcha. Is that what you're saying, Candace L? I'm sure Wayne has something smart to say around here. No, he's welcoming people. Good for him. Rucker says, do you think Tesla will ever come out with a portable power station? I don't think they have a reason to. It would have to be some type of pet project. Wayne says, so get a Go Labs. Yeah, I don't think Tesla has a reason to. They have the new batteries. Maybe they try to take over the whole industry. I know they have those. They don't use the 18650s anymore. I think they came out some new battery tech. I got you. Autograph says, seems like I can't spell very well, so I keep trying product of the public school system. I tell people that all the time. It's like, man, I went to public school, and I try to tell people I went to public school in New Orleans. which is a whole different thing. Which is to say, I went to public school in a black city, which is a whole different thing. Yeah, there's some different struggles when you got that melanin. I'm not saying that my Caucasian brothers and sisters don't have their struggles. Let me put that out there because some people are weird. Kimbers, hopefully I don't confuse you with my question, but I'm very new to this and what to purchase. I'm moving on to my sister's land and building out a cargo trailer next year I can run electric from. If you're savvy enough, Kimbers, you may want to just build out your own system. Perhaps the Boring Company would come out with one. You know what's funny about that, Joe Tyson? I thought people was making fun of his company when they called it the Boring Company. I think Casey Neistat had a video where he was like, he went to check out the boring tunnel. I thought he was like tongue in cheek saying this tunnel is boring, but I still went to look at it anyway. So I can run electric from run it to my trailer. Then I get, we do all bleed red, but a lot more blood has been spilled with than the other way. So I feel you. I feel you. We do. I wish America saw it that way. How about that, Bob? And when I say America, I mean systematically. Because I still got to check the box for black on these applications. I have the benefit of having Ivan as my first name, but, you know. Okay, Kimber says, oh man, I don't know anything about it except research for the last 2 years. Okay, well, I feel like a power station is cool then. Go with a power station. I like to keep solar simple. But the good thing about, I dig it, Bob. I appreciate that. The good thing about doing it yourself is you can grow into it. And if you're talking about moving into land, then you may not just want to have portable power stations. You may want to start with a portable power station. And then as you get that, start to learn about like these batteries and fuses, or even buy Solar Will's book. He has a solar book on Amazon. It's like $12 or something like that. Buy and read it. Happy Wife says, I went to school with all races and nationalities in the melting pot of New York City. Never had a problem. What kind of problem would you expect to have, Happy Wife? All in the soul. So I'm picking up what you're putting down. I had the benefit of my name being Josh. Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. Okay, I dig it. Yeah, Josh is a good one. Josh is a good one, sir. My wife's name is Delmisha. I told her, I think she wanted to name our daughter Delmisha. And jokingly, of course, I was like, or maybe it was like when we first met and she asked me or names came up or something. But I was like, your name is real urban, babe. It's real urban. It's like anything with Isha on it is urban. Now, let me be clear. I love people who are proud of their culture. I feel like Black people are disconnected from our culture, and we came here and we basically had to create our own. So I have very few problems with people and their names. I am also pragmatic, but I'm not going to put my pragmatism on somebody else. If you want to come up with a name for your child that is unique, I salute you for that. I think that sometimes we can get, and I mean a small percentage of us can get a little ridiculous. Like there was some dude that was called something real crazy. He was like the football star. He had a real proclamatory proclaiming name, and he was like very good in sports, so he had a name that kind of said that, but That's interesting. So Larry Shad responded to Kimbers, and this is what he said. And it says that the message is held for review. He says, check out Will Prouse's YouTube channel. A lot of great info for beginners. I'm going to show that. But Ulysses was talking about that when he mentioned someone's channel, the message, the comment got like deleted. So I guess what YouTube is doing is don't come on someone else's channel promoting your channel. And because Will Prouse is a channel, they probably saw that and was like, nah, we're not having that. That's interesting. By my name being Raul, everybody expected me to speak Spanish. Yeah, I dig that. All right. Susie, hey, I don't recognize the name. Good to have you here. You are so right about Bluetti. I bought the AC 200p in June, and here comes the Max and 300. Now, Susie, I'm technical, so forgive me. I have a very extremely technical brain. But you didn't buy it when it came out, though. But I feel you. You did buy it, and here comes a new one. But you didn't buy it when it came out. I don't. Now they did people dirty on that AC 200. That AC 200 was like a Kickstarter, and before people had even gotten the AC 200, they had come out with the AC 200p. Now I can't even say in their defense, but that Rona was happening too. So there was like battery scarcity and shortages and things like that. But you just shouldn't have put the 200p out. You should have waited. But they literally, like, I think it was like 6 months later, and people still hadn't gotten the AC 200, and they came out with the AC 200p, and it was foul. Bob says, yes, my people walk on the trail of tears. We need to grow together and get rid of all that crap that we got going on. Bob, I respect that. And I love when I hear my Caucasian brothers and sisters. I'm going to assume you're Caucasian. Please, I don't want to get into the ethnicity stuff. I love when I hear y'all say that, but I also want y'all to be doing the work to help us get there. We like this, I'm going to say egalitarian, but I could be using that word wrong. I find that a lot of times my white brothers and sisters love this idea of we are all equal. And I love that idea. But I need y'all to be putting in the work, too, to get us there. Because people who look like me, we out here trying to put in the work. You know what I mean? It's like in whatever aspect, whether that's engaging, whether that's reading, whether that's no, because, just to deviate a little bit, I was talking to my wife about this. The main reason why I feel like people like me read books about race and stuff like that, it's not because we necessarily need to learn about those concepts and things like that. It's so that we can engage with non-Black people and educate y'all. You know what I mean? But I dig that. I love that idea, but I just want us to work towards it. And y'all do some of the work too. But it is a bunch of crap. Fortunately, it ain't our crap. Not loud, Josh. Will Prouse. Yes, I'd like to shoot for all of that. Thank you. Kimbers, check out Will Prouse. Yeah, Rutgers, blah, 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 blah. Speaking of race, uh-oh. B3 says, I used to feel bad for myself because people made fun of my real name, Jambalaya McScooter. Then I realized they weren't making fun of me, but they were jealous. I don't know if that's a joke or not. There's no tonality in that text. 2% says, don't name your daughter Unique. What's wrong with Unique? I like that. That's what I mean. That's like, I love the creativity of Black people. Now, that's, what's funny. I had the movie with Hitch. I'm sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole, but the movie with Hitch, the white girl was called Allegra. And I thought that was interesting because that would typically be something that I might hear from my folks. I thought that was interesting, but I don't have any issues, man. Just like, I love the creativity, but sometimes it gets a little ridiculous. But my wife's name, Delmisha, is not ridiculous, but it is urban. You'd be hard pressed to find a Caucasian Dalmatia. Got you, Bob. Bob says yes, part Caucasian and part American Native. I dig that. LA Gun, what's happening? That came as a form of old Eddie Murphy movie, Monique and Unique, all in the soul. Okay, I'm not super versed, and if I'm not old enough to have had that implanted in my brain, so I remember it. I saw like a lot of those movies when I was younger. Maybe I'm jealous. My mom named me Tina, and I thought she could have done better. Say yeah, yeah, I dig that. It's like, man, we shouldn't have to be pragmatic, but we do. You know what I mean? I wish we didn't have to, but we do. And if any of y'all in here don't necessarily like the deviations, I can appreciate that. But it is what it is. We're people. We're not one thing. So we can talk about different things. 99 Fabrication TV. I remember that name, but I haven't seen it around in a while. I feel the decision. I feel the decision crisis. I had the Jackery 500. I don't feel like it was enough for me. And then I purchased the EcoFlow River Pro with extra battery. I'm good with that. You know what? I mean, that's what kind of made me Fab 99. That's what kind of made me feel like I need to get to the point where I get serious about what portable power station I'm gonna have. Because let's say I bought the EcoFlow Pro and the battery, Wayne. Um, it's still pretty much the same device as the one that costs $280. Now, I can appreciate that they went across the board with the same specifications, but you spending more money and getting basically the same device. So getting all that capacity doesn't net you really any gain other than capacity. So I say all that to say, even if I got the EcoFlow Pro, I'd be in the same position. That EcoFlow Pro barely ran my air conditioner, and it was a 500-watt air conditioner. I have a video on that. It's the one with the yellow with the two air conditioners on it. It barely ran it. I had to turn it off because I didn't want to do damage to the device. If I got the EcoFlow Pro, I'd be in the same position. I couldn't run my AC. And I don't think it can run my deep freezer either. I still have to do that video. So I'm just like, man, you could spend what, 550. The battery's now 400, and I'm calling it 550, but it actually cost 650. It just was on a perpetual sale for forever, so it's stuck there in my mind. 550 for $900, and I still got a 600-watt inverter, but I got 1,400 watts of power. I could get an EB150 at that point. That's a 1,000-watt inverter with 1,500 watt hours of capacity. And then that's breaking my other rule. The inverter's not matched to the watt hours. Seriously, I have your AC on that. You know you need something bigger. So here's the thing, LA Gun. When I bought that EcoFlow River, I bought it. I can't even necessarily say that I had the money to buy it, but it was on sale. I was quite content. And what I mean is content is with relation to my coins. I was quite content with the Bowdens and the Rock Pals, but it went on sale for $280. And I was like, man, I could do all that for $280. So I wanted to see what it can do. Push come to shove, if we had to all get up in a room because the power went out and it was hot, or my baby had to sleep, or my young ones had to sleep, I could run the AC at 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock for an hour or two and then run a fan, and they would be fine-ish. They wouldn't be great, but in an hour or so to cool down that room. Actually, with the 288, it wouldn't have ran long, but I would have used my other power stations to try and supplement that power to give me as much run time as possible. So I was interested in what it could do. Gemini Love says, what do you think of Montec? Is that the waterproof dip in a briefcase? Oh, no knock. 99 says he feels me. Or they say they feel me. That's just the comfort level for capacity. The gardening artist sounds like you need to build your own. I walk down that road a lot, but I couldn't keep it on my top floor, and that's where I would mainly want my power. Uh, and it's not portable. I mean, you got Will Prouse with the milk crate system, but I don't understand that stuff well enough. I'd be scared to do it. I don't even like gas, and gas is super easy. You just gotta make sure your spark plugs are good, your gas is fine, and you get your oil kind of together. I don't even like that. You think I want to put a bolt on fuse at 40 amps for wires that's 8 gauge and could electrocute myself? He be putting wires on stuff and it sparks. It's just like, nah, I'm out. I'm out. The EB70 does not run the AC at all. Go check out that video after this is over, Gary. It just stops. It tries, but then it shuts off. Diva says that's why I think we should have at least one device that's 1,000 watt hours or more. I agree. I agree. What do you think about the solar tracking panel? It automatically tracks the sun. Is it just a money grab? I was just talking with Wayne about this. Will has an opinion on the solar trackers. They cost a lot of money. And for the type of gain that you get on it, you could just buy more panels. So I'm inclined to buy more panels. So EcoFlow has a solar tracker. I was told that it was $1,800. Their panel, the 400 watt panel, is $900. And maybe that's the Kickstarter price. It'll probably be, no. That seems right. That panel shouldn't be much more than that. It's 400 watts. It may go up to like $1,000 or 1,100 or something. But you just buy another panel and point it the other way. Like, I don't know. I'm not a fan. Bob says he enjoys the live chats. Man, I'm glad somebody enjoys them. I know you guys kind of enjoy. I just know some people are like, talk about solar. Shut up. Finish the race. Thanks for being here. Says checking in, school is in session. Did Gemini Love give me clarity? Okay, yeah, I see you say yes on the Montec. I wasn't put off by it. A lot of times those things came out at a time when I wasn't even thinking about being able to spend that much money on solar. It was cool. I don't know why it had to be waterproof. I don't need that in my life. I know the price that it was going for before it officially launched was really good. So yeah, it was cool. The Montec, I'm fine with it. I didn't see any glaring issues. I think Hobotech reviewed it. He had, good thoughts about it. What time is it? 7 o'clock. 2% says my EB70 runs my Vornado. The fan or the heater? LA Gun says they are waiting. She's waiting for the Montec X1000 waterproof to arrive. What made you get it, LA Gun? Happy wife. I get so much out of listening to you on this channel. I appreciate that, and you're welcome. Listen, like, batteries are getting really inexpensive, and that's LiFePo batteries. Will Prouse, the DIY channel. I mean, Will is the GOAT. I kind of find myself mentioning him a lot. He's the GOAT of solar. I mean, let's just keep it a buck. There's I think it's the Chins, and then there's like a rainbow version of it. It's like super colorful that he just reviewed, and it's like $100 cheaper than the Chins. Another thing that I struggle with those DIY systems is I don't completely understand the amp hour stuff. It's getting a lot easier with LiFePo because LiFePo is the type of chemistry that doesn't have that where you can only use 50% of the capacity. So what you pay for is what you get to use for the most part. But it's like, man, you got to have a BMS. He talks about temperature control, which I don't care about as much because my stuff is for in the house. But he has an RV mindset, so he's worried about it being cold in your rig and stuff like that. I don't have it in me. No way, ask I'm in California. I don't need a heater. Oh, okay, I got you. Just a fan. I got you. 5 minutes to 6 here. Thanks, Bob. Black Plumber said the Trail of Tears had slaves too, so try again. Try what again, Black Plumber? Candace L says, I like the diversity of the live chat. Thank you. Kimbers, I like the way you do business. You ever see Four Brothers? I love that little line. Live chats are just that, live chats. We chat about whatever. Bingo. Can you suggest a rigid 200-watt panel to purchase? There are so many. Was thinking about the 190-watt HQST. I bought one of those, South Padre. I bought one. I like the rich solar, and I like the... Actually, if you don't have the EB70, I would say any 200-watt panel within reason should be fine. If you come to the table with knowing that they're going to be about 80% efficient, then you could get anything. New power, Renergies are expensive, and they don't seem to perform any better than anything else. But that's just me deducing based on the 100-watt panel test that I've seen. And I also did a test comparing my Renergy 100-watt panel to my HQST 100-watt panel. I got the HQST for $80 and I got the Renergy for $103. It was down from about 115 or 113, but at that time the HQST was 90. So I figured I spent an extra $13 to try out the Renergy because I do have a YouTube channel. So I try to get some variety, and I tried a different form factor. So try new power, I bought the HQST. I own the Rich Solar 200-watt panel. It's an eco-worthy for that does 195. New Power has a 210 and a 200. Bouge RV has a 180. So yeah, they're fine as long as you can get them at a price that you like, and you understand that you're probably going to get about 80% output in direct sun, maybe a little bit more than 80% output in a direct sun and angled. Then you're fine. If you're cool with that price, buy whatever your heart's desire. Now, I don't know if you should go to Home Depot and get a 200-watt Grape Solar, but I just don't know them well enough, and I don't see a whole lot of videos on them. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. I always want to say K-Fez, but I always think it's K-Fees, like Fees. Zooms is the same as the Chin's LiPo battery. Thanks, Wayne. Yeah, Zooms is the name of the battery that Will just reviewed. I think the Chin's was $4.99 and the Zooms was $3.99. Now, both of those batteries are probably sold out because Solar Will made videos on them. If Will ever wanted to do Patreon or anything like that and make some extra coin, he could do his videos and post them to Patreon first and let his Patreon viewers see them. And then they get first dibs on buying whatever he's talking about before it hits the mass market, and then everybody buys it up and it's out of stock. But he also has his forum, so I'm sure he shares that stuff on his forum first. And, you know, I don't say this in an odd way, but I'm just acknowledging the truth. Like, he's not hurting for money, but if he ever wanted to make extra coin on Patreon or something like that, he could do that, and that'd be great. Will Prouse is very informative. Man, I like that guy. His lives be off the chain. I enjoy his lives thoroughly. I don't always agree with him, but I like that he has a position. It's intelligent. It's thought out. Yeah, we've had some conversations about race. He's on the other side of the coin. but he was reasonable. It's sometimes can be hard talking to our Caucasian brothers and sisters about race. It's hard talking with anybody about anything unless they come to the table wanting to hear what you actually have to say. I talk about race, politics, and religion. I don't care. But what I do realize, if I don't have an audience with you, and what I mean by that is if I don't feel like you're interested in what I have to say, then I'll bow out of the conversation and we don't have to keep talking. But I love talking about that stuff, especially if you're interested. I've messaged many a WP. That's what we say around my kids when I talk about our Caucasian brothers and sisters, or if I want to be a little incognito. Um, I've messaged a many person of the Caucasian persuasion and say, look, if you want to build and talk and chat, message me. I'll talk about it. You ask all the questions you want. We talk about whatever you want to talk about, but be reasonable. But if you got a off color question, I don't mind it. Susie, first super chat of the live. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't think I could put words to how much I appreciate people taking their money and saying thank you monetarily. That's dope. Come to the table with an open mind. That's right. Future Layer says he's passionate. Yes, he is. I would love where I've told her multiple times a mix of his thousand some odd comments. Like, he should absolutely make a channel, but he also doesn't want to get canceled because he's aware, like being from Cali and there being people out there being very liberal and stuff like that. I think he's fearful. He doesn't want to be canceled, but sometimes he just can't hold it in, and I love it. We have such commonality, Diva. Just overall, I tell people all the time, like, the Black experience is getting more diverse as we get older and we raise our kids in some ways good ways, in some ways bad ways. The Black experience is typically universal. If you didn't grow up in the hood as old as most of us are, then your family grew up in the hood. You are not that far detached from what the Black experience is. So we have a collective sense of things. So when people talk about, this idea of rugged individuality and all that jazz, it's just like, yeah, but, and when I say y'all, I mean the collective. It's like the system treated us all the same. It pushed us into neighborhoods. When we tried to get out of those neighborhoods, it charged us more money if they would let us get out of the neighborhoods in the first place. So yeah, I don't know how to swim. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we didn't play tennis. Yeah, we're not into hockey. We didn't have access to that stuff collectively. Like, but yeah, I want to see you as an individual. It's like, well, no, I'm an individual, sure, but I'm a part of a collective. That lineage doesn't just go away. And as we grow older, we get a little further removed from it. But like, man, it's the Black experience is like, it's particular. Dennis says, I still wonder about my panels. I got new power and I'm only getting about 60% performance. Which one? So let me tell you this. My HUSTs, they get about 67 watts. On a great day, they probably pull in the highest I've seen them. Granted, they were a little bit, I feel like the highest I've seen is like 80. But here's why I was okay with that. Those panels only cost me $80. That's what I can't come to terms with. I can't come to terms with the fact that a $100 panel gives me 80 watts at its peak performance. It's like I can't reconcile that. An HUST giving me 67 and then on the best banging Sunday giving me 80. I'm cool with that because I only pay $80 for it. Everything else is like, it's a little disrespectful. How about golf or skiing? Yeah, it's the same thing. That's, Tiger Woods. You know what I mean? It's like, he's blazing, but yeah. But we getting out there. I'm fearful that the more we find success, the more we're gonna find ourselves having mainstream issues, especially with our children. And I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about that. And by mainstream, I mean Caucasian, stereotypical Caucasian problems. That bothers me. Joe Trot, what's happening? What's going on? Get out of the rabbit hole. I like the rabbit hole. Rabbit hole's cozy. It's cozy, brother Wayne. He says Will is actually Mexican. I've heard him talk about his German heritage. Um, no days off. Oh, for me. Happy Wife says I'm not stereotypical anything. I dig that. And that's, I should have looked up that quote. That's the beauty about a stereotype. It's not always right, but, there's some truth to it. I think she said, the lady in the TED Talk says, it's not that stereotypes are wrong. The problem with stereotypes is not that they are wrong, but it's that they don't paint a complete picture. So especially if you don't have firsthand experience, then yeah, if you take on that stereotype, the stereotypical opinion of things, for example, people have a very stereotypical opinion of Americans. I talked to this guy, his name is Jonas, and he's a Swede. And he has an opinion, a stereotypical opinion of Americans. And I think the interesting thing is that he talked about how the ironic thing is every time he meets an American, they are not rude, they are not loud, they're courteous, they're kind. And I find that is the exportation of the American image that goes over there. You know what I mean? And then they internalize that and they believe that's how we are. I say we loosely. I feel good. I grew up in New Orleans and it was chocolate too. So that I have a difference in perspective about a lot of things because I grew up around Black people um, instead of having to deal with like some people who didn't. Like I don't need positive image support. Like my teachers were Black. The people around me were Black. Yeah, New Orleans was a tough city to grow up in, but the image bearers in my community were Black. So when Black Panther came out, it didn't move me. I don't have no doubts about Black greatness. Not at all. Oh, Black Plumber said that was for Bob. So Black Plumber is being I'm gonna deduce that you're being a little combative. Gary says, are you still considering the Watt fund? If it ever comes back in the stock, I'd think about it. It'd have to be around $200. Generalizations don't benefit anyone. I don't know. I get it. I get it, R. I seen one of his lives and he says he's half Mexican, that he doesn't speak Spanish. Oh, okay, cool. I've heard him talk about his parents. Can we get back to solar talk? What's your question, Buck? I don't mind talking about whatever though. If you would like to hear the solar portion, if you weren't here from the beginning, then you can go back to the beginning. And I don't say that adversarially. But sometimes as we get to the end, they kind of free form like this. And I'm okay with that. Sorry, Black people do or behave. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Should I release that? Gary, I did check out the coup slot. It does not have good reviews. I looked at it. Thank you for mentioning it. B3 says we all have struggles. Some struggles are based individually and some demographically and some racially. Okay, fees. I've only seen Asians in TV roles and mainstream media. Seeing an Asian in a commercial, even in my 20s, was rare. So Black representation in media was huge for me growing up. Yeah, it is. That is important. I remember growing up, and when I would wash my hair, I would play around like I could flick my hair back because that's what we saw WPs doing commercials. My stepdaughter married a black man. I'm expecting a beautiful grandbaby no matter what. She's a baby. That's what's up. I dig that. Joe Trot says, I'm going to use my Wi-Fi this week to run all my low power devices, including all battery. And so, yeah, Joe, your situation was you kept that in a cage or something like that, right? A Faraday cage. So you're going to pull it out and start using it, or you're just going to use it for that section? Yeah, I don't know what this is, Delgada. So I think I'm going to remove it. But if you could provide some clarity, I just don't want you saying black people in general and it doesn't have any context. I don't want to have any issues in that regard. Delgado says, I can't tell you the number of times that blacks, have told me I'm not really black because I did not fit their vision of what black people do or behave. I got you. Yeah, yeah. So can I tell y'all something about that? Kamala, that's how you say her name, right? Kamala Harris, she went through a spell where people started to question her blackness. And what I understood, I translated it to be, is that people weren't necessarily questioning her blackness. But when people start to question your blackness, they're starting to question your connection to black struggle. Because like I said earlier, being black in this country, for the majority of us, for the majority of the years we've been here, has been connected to struggle and strife and oppression. So when somebody sees you and they see that you don't seem to be a part of that struggle or have ties to that struggle, then they start to question your blackness, because blackness in general is a certain type of thing for the most part, stereotypically speaking. R. DeGrasse says, when your channel gets bigger, we will have to focus more. Maybe, maybe not. Look at the earlier comment. South Powder says, thank you for all the information, getting things ready for my big purchase somewhere around August 20th, if I'm lucky. I dig that. Isn't that when the dip comes out? The stuff is being released, the AC 300 and the AC 200. Shoo, 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 shoo. Maybe I will just have to kind of push forward with, or maybe we'll have these kind of lives that people want to be a part of where we just talk generally and then I'll hide them after they're done or something like that. I can also edit a live as well, but it is what it is, man. You know, I talked about what I set out to talk about and we veered down this path. And, you know, if you don't want to veer, I get it. You know what I mean? You didn't necessarily sign up for that, but I feel like I did my part. Yeah, what I have to do. Gary's talking about the Kusla. The Kusla seems to be a very close, if not identical, version of the Watt Fund, which is a LiPo power station that charges at 100 watts, which I thought about buying to get 100 watts to the front of my house. And I have to look more closely at those reviews, because sometimes people are ridiculous in their reviews. But I just saw that it only had like 3 reviews or something like that, and they were like 3 stars. And what I probably will do is reach out to them using my Gmail account, because my askive.com seems to be having problems, or people just don't respect me. Generalizations benefits no one. I disagree. I love generalizations, but I'm odd. I'm odd. I'm also extremely reasonable, though. Alien Prepper, what's happening? Yes, a gumbo eye. Dennis, Denise, it's good to see you. I don't recognize the name. Saw your video on the Bluetti AC30, and I'm just starting. Do you think it's a decent starter at $199? Did you see my video though? Because my video kind of lays it out. I want a small portable power station. Then that thing. The only benefit that it has is 150 watts of solar input purportedly, because I wasn't able to test it when I had it. I returned it very quickly to take that $200 and put it towards my EB70, and it's LifePo. Other than that, it's a highly questionable device as it relates to its usefulness. You cannot charge it from the car. It charges from the wall at 45 watts. So even if you don't have solar, even if you had like a gas generator and you charge that from the wall, it would only charge at 45 watts. That's what people are talking about when they say they want to use their generator to charge their solar generators or portable power stations faster. But that one wouldn't charge faster, and you can't charge it from the car. So if push came to shove and that was the only device that you had, if the lights went out, you can't even take it out to your car to charge it with the car running. What are you going to do with it? I don't know. All in the Soul says, you got conviction. Keep doing your thing. Yeah, Oh, okay, I got you, Susie. I meant live. Let's get this back up the par. Virginia says, I'm saving for the EB70. I want to use it for my CPAP, TV, lamp, and at the same time, but not for very long. Would this be good for me? What solar power panels could I use? The EB70, I have at least 2 videos about the EB70, about its solar panel. I have one where I actually purchased a solar panel and unbox it. And I have one where I talk about the rich solar panel and it being possibly one of the best rigid panels for the EB70. There's also, if you go to my page, I have a community section or something like that where Tia and Frank made the suggestion that the HQST 190 watt panel was available for 170. You could also use that on your EB70. But know that the EB70 has that 8 amp limit, and it causes problems in terms of getting the most solar into your device as possible. Yeah, LA Gun says, check out Hobotech on charging in the car using the best tech. But with regard to that AC30, you're still only going to get 45 watts. That's a different thing when you got the Jackery 300 and you could get 60 watts or 85 watts or whatever it does from the AC adapter. That AC30 is it's a weird one. Okay, Davis and Thomas, I'm looking to get an EcoFlow Pro or Max. I've got to figure out what the difference is between the two. What is the best panels for? The EcoFlow base model, Pro, and Max are all the same device. They vary in capacity and maybe a port or two that they have on them. So you're just paying for more capacity. If you want 578 watts or whatever, you can get the Max. I'm of the opinion, get as much as you can afford and save a little more and just get the Pro. Let me scroll up because I may have missed a comment or two. Hmm. 99 says, we like the loose chat format. Let it go where it goes. It's informative and fun. After testing the Watt Fund, thank you, 99. After testing the Watt Fund for at least a week, I'll swap it out for my EcoFlow River. My wife told me that she enjoyed immensely the last live where I started to talk about introversion and stuff like that. I just have a lot of stuff to talk about, as do a lot of people, especially people who read and, observe the world through that kind of lens. It's the same thing with Will Prowse. He has a lot of thoughts and opinions. He also has a lot of interests. I hope he doesn't take offense to me calling him Solar Will. That has a history that I explain. It's just so my wife knows which WP I'm talking about, because she doesn't pay close attention. All right, B, get out of here. What other solar systems would you suggest for my situation? Virginia, let me see what your previous comment was. You say, oh, okay, the CPAP, TV, lamp at the same time. Just to oversimplify it, I feel like get the biggest one you can afford. And hopefully be okay with that purchase. Be okay with the fact that you may have to buy another one in the future. If you need something now, just so you feel like you can kind of sleep comfortably, knowing that if the power went out for 2 hours, you'd be okay, then, get an EB70 or something like that. But if you're thinking about stuff powering stuff for longer, you're going to have to spend more money. You should also get one of those watt meters, or read your labels on your devices to see how much power they use. And then you do a calculation. Typically, if you're going to plug it into the AC, you have to take into account that you're going to lose some power during the inversion process. So you're going to lose about 15%. So you would never get, you're not going to get the full capacity of the battery to begin with. The EB70 has about 616 watt hours of capacity. That's per Jasonoid's test. He has a good test on a good thorough video. It's a little long, but that's what happens when you're thorough, I guess. The Gumbo live show. I have live show. That's a good that's a good topic. My wife and I want to do a podcast, and live would be a good medium for not having to work editing and stuff like that. Hey, Kimber Jack, welcome. What other solar systems would you suggest? So, Virginia, I like the EB150. It's bigger. The EB240, I don't know if that's still kind of prevalent in these streets, but it's even bigger. But it's basically the 150 with more capacity. Wayne talks about the EB240 a lot. He's very impressed with it. It just runs stuff for forever. I use CPAP with humidifier, and I purchased a 12-volt cord to go with it. And I use one of my AC 200P and EcoFlow Delta dedicated to it for long-term outages. Okay. And that's what LA Gun is talking about, using the 12 volt. When you power from 12 volt, there's very little loss in powering the device. You can lose a little bit because if those ports are regulated, I think Hobotech and Will Pross talks about this. If those ports are regulated, then the regulation circuit has to use some power to keep the voltage steady. So, yeah. That's a good point. Buck7567 says also the AC30 does not tell the watts coming in or out. It has a ton of downsides. The literally only 2 pros is as LiFePO. Well, it's 3 pros. It's LiFePO, it's $200, and it can purportedly take in 150 watts. That's it. Everything else about that thing is trash. The USB-C port is not even PD. It only charges at 18 watts. The screen shows nothing useful except for the 20% intervals. Man, that device got on my nerves. HSN has the EcoFlow Delta on sale for $10.99. Thanks, Kevin. I don't know if that's much of a sale. What's the lowest it's been? I think the lowest it was at was Costco for $9.99. And then what's the capacity on that EcoFlow? Is it EcoFlow Delta, the first one? Is it like 1,400 or something like that? Diva says which? Oh, okay. She's talking to somebody else. Hey there. So I pronounce it Ain. Am I wrong in that? Been in the yard all day. Did not know you were on here, and I can't finish. Now I can't finish my word. Please go finish your work or hang out. Whatever's clever. B3 says, now B3, this is your fault. B3 says, I'm all about the racial, egalitarian, and Black people progressing past the struggles that were placed on them. Do what you got to do as long as it's not using racism to fight racism. That is interesting. You have to quantify that, sir. Another thing we have to stop doing is we have to stop letting ridiculous people make the narrative. It's like we are. I tell a friend of mine who he leans Republican. Actually, he's my best friend. Black guy. He's like an extroverted version of me. So you guys will like him so much more. He is I tell him all the time, he is the victim of talking to dumb people too often. We have to stop talking to people who don't know what they're talking about, because then when you get to a person who is informed and reasonable, you don't know how to have the conversation. You have all of these ideas and concepts and notions that you bring into that conversation, and it just ruins everything. People all over the internet calling people racist, and it's like we don't even know the difference between racism, racist, prejudice, and bigoted. You have to know those things. It's not all racism. But anyway, it's Anne. Okay. Okay. Nice. Anne Ravenel. Thank you, Anne. Joe Trot says, bingo, turn off MSN, I assume he means, and much strife goes away. That's interesting. You must be on the other side, Joe Trot. MSN is interesting. They're like, in my opinion, MSN at some point decided to try to out Fox News. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I don't think Democrats are as good as Republicans at being ridiculous. They try to be ridiculous, and I'm just like, y'all need to stop. But they can't win being reasonable. In my opinion, Republicans are very principled. They are extremely principled. They believe certain things and they believe them wholeheartedly. Now, whether those things still apply in this day and age, I don't know. That's up for debate. But yeah, I don't know. R says we have to define our terms, get a dictionary. Even the dictionary version, the dictionary can have an agenda in some ways too. Like a lot of times I'll have a conversation and people want to go with the dictionary's definition of racism. And basically it's like any person who believes that another person is inferior based on the color of their skin. And okay, cool. But that's not what racism is in America. Historically, like WPs didn't just have an opinion about us in the color of our skin. They didn't just feel we were inadequate or non-human. Like there was stuff that was actually done. There was laws that were put in place. So I more so tend to lean towards this idea of like racism, systemic racism has a power component to it in this country and maybe in, you know, African countries and so on and so forth. But like we can be racist towards WPs, but systematically we don't have the ability to impact your lives as much as you guys systematically have the ability to impact our lives. I can look at Joe Trott's name on a resume and just be okay with the fact that his name is Joe Trott. But if someone's looking at a resume with Keisha Williams on it, they have all of these preconceived notions, and they have the ability to just be like, nah. And we're 13% of the population. So even if that stuff just doesn't equate, it's not the same. I told one of my neighbors who is of Caucasian descent, because I have these conversations all the time. You can't, it's like the big brother and the little brother. The little brother punches the big brother with all of his might. But if the big brother punches the little brother with all of his might, it's not the same thing. So we can't inflict the same type of racism on you guys that you guys, your version of racism can inflict on us. So just, it's not the same. It's like this idea of egalitarian and equal, and I see all people from a personal standpoint, that is beautiful. But it, from a policy standpoint, it doesn't work. It just doesn't. Alien Purpose says, I get all my news from crazy people on YouTube. Can't trust the mainstream media. Yeah, they have an agenda, man. It's interesting. It's interesting. All right. Shibit, not counting my wife from El Salvador, the most phenomenal woman I know, and has a lot more melanin in her skin than I have. I dig that. Okay, these 100. I have an informed opinion on race, unlike a lot of people and a lot of people who look like me. I tell my wife all the time, everybody's not equipped to talk about race on both sides. Everybody's not ready. We got a bunch of people who are not equipped to talk about it, having conversations about it, and ruining the conversation. B3, that's a good example of exactly what I mean. How many black teachers do that though? But how many white teachers historically treat black children different because they're black? How many white teachers historically and systematically told black students they couldn't achieve because they were black, or didn't give them a fair shake because they were black? It's like one instance, I said this again, it's like sometimes my white brothers and sisters, y'all dip y'all toe in the pool of racism and think it's equivalent to the oceans that we've had literally to deal with in racism. So if you want to deal with it on an individual stance, I dig that, but it's not the same. It's not the same. And again, like I was telling Brother Bob, it's like I understand this idea of egalitarianism, but we need all of us to work towards it. We can't just have these lofty ideas. You know what I mean? Like, if that's your idea, I need you to work towards it being that thing. And I don't know what that necessarily looks like. I could give it some thought. I'll tell you that. I dig that. I have no stance to disagree with that. No days off. There's a book by this lady named Jennifer Harvey. She said, if you don't, and just because she said it doesn't make it right. She's just a person. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all. That's the same way I feel about the Constitution. Yeah, those people were, whatever they built it, but they were just people. It's not infallible. They are not God. That had to do with the Constitution. It's okay. We can change it. I'm not saying which way we should change it, but people who say, no, it's the Constitution, it's just like, they're just people. But Jennifer Harvey said that if we don't, she was talking about white children, if we don't raise them to combat certain things that are kind of natively built into this country, then they'll get it in them. Like, sure, you can teach your kids to not see color, which is kind of weird, but we won't go there. You can teach your kids to look at people as an individual. But if you don't understand the world that they're going into, that stuff will seep into you. And it's just like anything else. I don't understand how we don't understand this. It's just like anything else. Culture influences you, point blank, period. I wasn't raised to want to wear my pants hanging off my butt, but I wanted to have a dignified sag growing up. That's what I call it, like a little sag. I wasn't raised to listen to rap music, but I wanted to listen to it. You know what I mean? It's like that stuff will get into you. It doesn't matter. You have to actively combat those ideas. No, you're not going out of here dressed like that. No, you don't treat people like that. If I catch you treating people like that, you're going to have a problem. But these kids are in school for 8 hours a day. What? I mean, we have to be real about that. And solar is beautiful. I love solar. I like other things too. Delta capacity seems low for its size, but it has a big inverter. What's the capacity on it, Kevin? Oh, okay. LA Gun says she's speaking of the Delta Pro. All right. It is 7:35. It's always 2 hours, man. It's always 2 hours. It's a good time. Solar has no color. I recommend it's a Go Power 100 watt solar panel, same quality as Jackery Saga. You think so, Borg? Har says, can you walk a mile in my moccasins? B3 says, no prejudice is the goal, not redistributed prejudice. B3, we're going to have to talk. I feel like message me on Instagram or Facebook or email me. We could have a phone conversation. I'd love to chop it up with you, sir. All right. Just to recap, um, I've kind of talked myself out of it a little bit, but I do know that I need to get a bigger portable power station. So I'm gonna have to figure something out. I may find myself just getting like an EV 150, but I'm trying to battle this idea of incrementalism that I'm so fond of. And getting the EB 150 would be incrementalism because I don't necessarily like the design of that device. If they updated that device for $1,000 and put like a 100-watt portable USB-C on it, maybe two of them and less USB legacy ports, maybe I'd get one. It charges at 500 watts. It's hard to accomplish that with their voltage input limit, so you can get like 400 watts or something like that. But yeah, I don't know, man. R says, I like the solar blankets. Who cares about the cost? I do. Things is expensive. What's his name? City Prepping. He talked about one. I think it was like a 200 watt, and that dip was $2,000. Yeah, the 1,000 art. No days off. NDO says the problem with the EB is the inverter. Yeah, that's you're welcome. Finish the race. That's the problem. I have to think seriously about the AC 200p refurbished. I have to really give that some thought. $1,200. I have to look into the warranty and stuff like that. And if Bluetti um, uh, holds that warranty, or if this company that sells them holds that warranty. Thanks, helicopter. What I'm gonna probably do is someday, guys, I'm going to I'll continue to build this solar channel. I do think that we have to allow room for lives to be candid. Um, but I may build this up, and then I may start my own YouTube channel. It'll just be Ask Ive. Like some people, when Les says Ask Ive, I have a kind of brand, whatever. I have Ask Ive, then there's Ask Ive Solar, and there's Ask Ive Tech because I'm a tech enthusiast as well. No days off. I have to look into that. It's a part of some Facebook group that Brother Wayne told me about. So you are listening. I was trying to get you stirred up. But can you walk a mile in my moccasins? I don't even know what moccasins are. I guess they're a type of shoe, obviously, but are those like, yeah, I don't know what moccasins are. I've heard the term many times, but I've never put eyes on a pair of moccasins and knew they were moccasins. I've never done that. I was talking to T and Frank about some stuff because he has a video on his channel and it's of political nature. I usually don't inject politics into a conversation, but if you share something publicly, and I feel like I should have the freedom to disagree with you publicly, and I didn't necessarily disagree with him per se, but um, I just found it to be interesting. And one thing that I find is if you're patient enough to walk people through all of their foolishness, you can get to the reasonable in them. It's countless times. And it's again, people are the product of talking with idiots. They have their talking points. Thanks, Candace. That's so kind. Oh, Native American shoes. Well, that's just deep. Um, you can get to a reasonable version of most people if they're willing to kind of like um we're gonna show that. Kevin Lane says racism equals bigotry plus power. Only one race in America can practice. I would add systemic racism to that. This is how my brain works. Like systemic racism. Um, Because as B3 noted, there was a black teacher who made the white kids wait until the black kids went out. That is racism. She practiced racism in there. She had power, but I guess that gets to your point. Racism equals bigotry plus power. But where I disagree is only one race in America can practice racism. I believe that only one race in America can practice systemic racism. Like, these terms matter. This clarity matters. And I'm not saying that I'm necessarily right. I think that I'm right on this, but yeah. Y'all, if Bluetti sent me 150, I would be quite happy. I wouldn't necessarily say that I would be content, but then I could kick my can down the road and wait for what I really want. Because free food doesn't have to be as good as food I paid for. That's a principle that I live by. Siobhan, you are so late. We are pretty much done. Super late. And I'm gonna be honest, I did not excel in school. Um, I did not. I was bored, and I had a problem with busy work and all of that stuff. Just a loser teenager with my opinions, thinking I'm right. So she says, and says, "Oh my God, don't play. You don't know moccasins. Get on your history, real history. You need to know. Okay, I'll look it up. You have my word. Do I just need to look up moccasins, or do you have some context for me?" Victoria says, "I just pulled the trigger on the Eco River Max." That's what's up. As much grief as I give that EcoFlow Max, it is still a nice device. And if that battery ever went down, it's a principal issue that I have with the Max. If that battery ever went down to 150, I would buy it in a heartbeat. Yeah, Happy Wife says I should see if Laird will sell me any of the ones that he's trying to get rid of. The thing with me is I want a great deal. And I'll tell people, like, look, man, I'm looking for a good deal, but I respect your right to get the money that you want. But if you ever decide that you want to sell it to me for what I want to pay, then just let me know. No hard feelings. It's all love. If I knew somebody who would buy it at your price, I would send it to them. But if I'm going to buy it, I'm not paying that much. Thanks, Anne. You're very intelligent. I can tell you don't have to know everything. You pay 450. 450. So look at that, Victoria. And I'm not trying to rain on your proverbial parade. I guess proverbial is the wrong word. You pay 450 for 578 watt hours, which is a good deal. I think about it like this. When that Flow River was $250, I would have just bought two. And then I got 288 giving me the same watt hours, but I have two separate devices that I can use wherever I want. But here's the problem with that. I mean, you got to charge one to charge the other. So it presents complexities and things like that. But that's just how my brain works. Joe Try says, I was bored a lot in school, so I just read a lot, holding a book, holding or hiding the book under my desk. Yeah, reading. I have a God-given intellectual capacity, but reading is. If I just went off of what I learned in high school, I would not be as bright. Just say that. I'm glad I spent years reading, which is another thing that a lot of, and I'm again a generalization, but it's fine. A lot of people who are kind of, I don't mean activisty, but I just mean like people who are mindful of black people who are mindful of black people. I have a compassion for my people, for all people, but specifically for my people. And we tend to read a whole lot. And in some ways, it kind of saves us because we want that knowledge because we've been deprived of so much. So I'm glad I read. Thanks, LA Gun. I appreciate that. I feel like I sounded like Led when I said that. I greatly appreciate the donation. Thank you very much. That's very kind. Super kind. That's interesting. 2% said I was not great in school either. I was shy and cried a lot. Do you have siblings, 2%? Are you a middle child? My middle child is very sensitive. I'm a middle child and I remember being sensitive, but I'm dead inside now. So, just is what it is. Moccasins can also be soft leather forward from the. Okay. And says that's so true because nothing we learned in school was no help in the real world. Kimber's 58. Nice to meet you. I'll see you soon. Glad I caught the live. I'm glad you caught it too. Victoria says it low key did. What do you mean, Victoria? I can't. I don't know that in context. I finished my schoolwork, then I disrupted the class or the graph. All right, guys, I got to get out of here. This is always a blast. What can I leave you with? I told T and Frank, and I genuinely believe this. I feel like we deserve better than the the main faces of the Democrats and the Republicans. We deserve better. A lot of times we have opinions of those front runner people, and we transfer that opinion to everybody in the parties. I feel like those people who are on TV all the time have an agenda, and I don't necessarily agree with their agenda. Maybe they have genuine whatever, but I don't know. We deserve better. I wish we had better. We need Republicans and Democrats. Davis and Thomas, what is your Instagram? I looked for it and couldn't find it. It's Ask I Solar. You could do at Ask I Solar. You could probably even type into a web page, Instagram.com/Ask I Solar, one word, and you'll find it. I'm also on Telegram, which is a somewhat secure chat app. It's very popular. I've been on it since day one. You find me on Telegram, and you can reach out to me there. I'm also available via email, solar questions at Ask Ive. You can also message me under Ask Ive Solar on Facebook Messenger. But I know not everybody gets down. Right, Joe? Career parasites of either party are equally foul. We gotta figure out, and it's like I'm not a fan of dogmatic policy, but we have to figure out how to give these people term limits. I think we all can agree on that. But the one thing about us that we do not do well is we like to make policy that is one size fits all. We like to educate our kids in one size fits all. We like to create rules that are one size fits all. Even our judicial system is somewhat one size fits all in some ways, outside of the jury and things like that. But that's a big problem here in this country. Maybe it's a problem in other countries, but I live here. So that one size fits all, we don't want to do the work. Nobody wants to do the work.